All right. Swadee everyone. So my name, thank you. So my name is Lam Thanh, and my nickname is Hanoi. For those of you who are wondering where that nickname comes from, it's because my parents, who are both Thai, my dad proposed to my mom in the city of Hanoi in Vietnam over 30 years ago. So they decided to give me that nickname. And that's where my artist name comes from, which is 𝘕𝘢𝘶, Hanoi. And I'm really excited to be here today. I'm normally based in Bangkok, Thailand, and this is actually my first time in Belgium and my first time in Liège, and also my first time at 𝘕𝘀𝘀. So really excited to be here to share with you music, machine learning, technology, in the context of culture, history, and tradition from Thailand. So my goal today is to share with you the ways that I think about using technologies like machine learning and AI to celebrate, to reimagine, and at times even to challenge culture from Thailand and the greater Southeast Asia region. And so this talk is entitled Lemongrass and Bass, a Thai recipe for AI music, a very apt name for the tasting room here today. And we'll dive a little bit more where this play on words on the bass comes from. So that track that you just heard in the opening sequence is a track that I recently just released called Lan Glong, which translates to the English word drumfire. So this song is about these ancient military drums that you would hear when armies are about to go into battle. It's the sound that you would hear where you needed to hype up, the soldiers going into battle. And what's particularly special about this song is that the melodies and a lot of the textures that you heard as part of that music was actually generated using a lot of audio diffusion. And I will be showing you and walking through exactly how I use diffusion and other machine learning tools to generate and to create sounds which I can use in the context of music that sounds distinctly Thai and distinctly Southeast Asian. So, how many of you have been to Thailand before? Please raise your hands. Oh, wow, a couple of you. That's great. Awesome. Now, how many of you have listened to Thai classical music before? Jess has. Okay, that's one person. So I think to begin with, I'd like to give you a little bit of an introduction to music from Thailand and some of the important principles that make music from Thailand quite unique. And I think these can be divided into four main categories: tuning, melody, rhythm, and society. These four aspects are particularly important for me because they inform the way that I approach using machine learning and tools like diffusion and large language models in my approach to writing music. So let's start first with the topic of tuning. So to demonstrate why tuning is very important in Thai music, I'm going to play you a little demo from a Thai instrument called the Khong Wong. So I want you to pay attention to a couple of things. The first one is the letters that you see here basically indicate the notes of the scale. So if we count from here, this is kind of like the do or the root of our scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is now a new octave. So you can see here that the Thai octave is actually divided into 7 notes, not the 12 that you would find in equal temper tuning used in music here in Europe and in Western music. So that presents already a first problem, which is if you have a symbolic AI model that's been trained only on MIDI data or symbolic data that assumes equal temper tuning, there is simply no way of actually inputting the melodies that you would find on the particular this instrument, which is called the Khong Wong. And in addition to that, even if we now move into the world of audio-based models, 99% of all the data that is used to train direct-to-waveform models are trained using music that are written with very, very Western principles of harmony, Western principles of structure, Western principles of melody and rhythm and thematic development. So even if you were to give a melody from the 𝘠𝑦𝘯𝘵, which literally translates to a circle of gongs, so 𝘠 means gong and 𝘠 means a circle in Thai, there would be no way for these models to be able to understand, to be able to parse or even generate or continue the melodies that you find here. So a very, very important aspect of my work is basically figuring out ways to make sure that machine learning models in the generative process can actually access the tuning system that we use in Thai music. This is the tuning system that is used in Thailand is different from the one that some of you might know of in Indonesia with the gamelan ensembles. And it turns out that if you look at music from the Middle East all the way to West Africa to South Africa to Southeast Asia, each of these musical traditions and musical cultures have their own very unique tuning system. And so one of the ways that I use machine learning is in context of the tuning system that is from Thai music. So when using some of the diffusion models, something that's very, very important for me is the ability to give not just text prompting, but the ability to give an audio prompt, the ability to pass in reference audio and reference material to drive the generation process. And in my particular case, when I was playing around with some of Stable Audio tools, what was particularly exciting for me was this demo that I'll play for you. This is from mid-2024. The model has actually improved a lot since then, but I'm just dating it to give you a sense of what I was hearing back in 2024 when I was writing the song Drumfire. So let's have a listen. So what you're hearing right now is actually something that has been generated from Stable Audio, but because I'm using some reference audio from the original 𝘠𝑦𝘯𝘵, which is tuned exactly to the frequencies that you would find in Thai music, I can actually control the generation process to actually respect these tuning systems. And so now I have audio, which if you're listening to it might sound slightly out of tune, but actually that's because it's in reference to what you might be familiar with equal temper tuning. But this is now completely in tune with the instruments that you see in Thai classical music. And so using this particular way of giving the audio prompt to control the tuning system that I'm in, I can now generate sounds and all these interesting textures that are still tuned to Thai music, but then use the text prompt to completely imagine new sounds and imagine new tones that are beyond some of the instruments that you might hear in Thai music. So this was particularly game-changing for me, and that's essentially how a lot of the sound textures that you hear in Drumfire was actually created. And another thing which was really exciting for me listening to these sounds is that I think diffusion models really shine at generating specific kinds of sounds, which really reminded me of the kinds of instruments that you would find in Thai musical culture. So you've already been introduced to the 𝘠𝑦𝘯𝘵 right here, but here are some other instruments which I really like from a Thai ensemble. This is called the 𝘠𝘬𝘅, which is one of our main melodic instruments in Thai music. And we have a version that's made from wood and a version that's made from metal. And what's particularly cool is that these are all instruments that are struck, instruments that are metallophones, or what music theory would call idiophones. And actually instruments that are struck play a very, very central role as a key melodic instrument in Thai music. So it might be a little bit different from a Western orchestra where instruments like the marimba or the xylophone are more percussion instruments, and you have like trumpets and violins and clarinets taking center stage. In a Thai ensemble, instruments like the 𝘠𝑦𝘯𝘵 and instruments like the 𝘠𝘬𝘅 are actually one of the principal melodic instruments. So being able to generate these tones that actually really reminded me of these instruments was a game changer for me. Down here, you have the qing, and then you also have the pair of drums, which is 𝘠𝘠𝘀 and 𝘠𝑦𝑡, as well as a very large gong right there. So what was exciting about Drumfire for me was that none of the instruments that you hear in that entire opening performance were real instruments. That was entirely synthesized, 100% synthetic. But there's something about the music, there's something about the textures, there's something about the taste of the music that I think would sound to your ears very Southeast Asian to it. And this was the thing that was really exciting for me, in that I can now make music that has a very particular Thai flavor, but has access to all of these new tonalities and new sounds through technologies like diffusion. And in my opinion, as someone that has worked on plugins and as someone that has worked on a lot of synthesis tools, where I think diffusion models really shine is actually at generating metallic sounds, the kind of sounds that you would hear when you strike a metal bar, when you strike a metal gong, when you tap, this percussion instrument, the qing, and when you also strike a kongwong. So why is this important? Well, it turns out that the physics of how many of these instruments work is very, very different to instruments like the trumpet or the violin. So normally, what determines the tone of an instrument is the ratio between what's called the fundamental frequency and these upper harmonics. And very often, if you're playing a violin, or if you're playing a trumpet, or a clarinet, or an oboe, the upper harmonics are perfect integer multiples of the fundamental frequency. So if you're playing 440 hertz, A440, then the next partial will be 880, and then the next partial will be 760. But it turns out that when you're dealing with instruments that look like, if you're dealing with instruments that look like this, the physics of these instruments, the acoustics, completely change. And instead, the upper harmonics turn out to be non-integer multiples of the fundamental. And this is what makes a gong, for example, or a bell have a very, very distinct sound to it. And if you think back to the demo that I showed you with the kongwong, you might also notice that there's this very beautiful ringing that the instrument has after the note has been struck, and there are all these notes kind of like weaving into each other, and you get this very beautiful beating sound that sort of ebbs in and out. That's a result of these non-integer harmonics basically interacting with each other over time. So this is something that I think makes music from Thailand and music from Southeast Asia very unique, and I particularly enjoy using diffusion models like Stable Audio and Stable Audio Open because they're really great at making these metallic sounds, these tones that really remind me of home, and are very hard to generate if you're just using subtractive synthesis, additive synthesis, granular synthesis. Some of these textures, I think, are really unique to these machine learning tools. All right. Should we do questions, or should we leave questions at the end? Let's look at time. Nah, I'm going to keep going. Next up, we're going to talk a little bit about melody. So the reason that I separate melody from tuning is because very often there is a misconception that tuning is all you need to describe a musical culture. Like if you support the tuning system of Thailand, or if you support the tuning system of Indonesian music, essentially you now have access to that particular musical culture. I don't agree with that view, because that would be like saying, here is the B-flat major scale. Now you too can sound like Bach. We all know that the reason that Bach sounds like Bach is not because it's a B-flat major scale. It's how the notes evolve over time. It's the use of chords. It's the use of polyphony. And that's why a blues in B-flat and a Bach fugue in B-flat sound completely different. It's not the scale. It's how these notes evolve over time and how the composer lands on different parts of the notes in that tuning system, which gives rise to a genre of music. So this is particularly important in Thai music, too, where it's not just our tuning that makes our music different, but it's how we approach melody, both from a musical perspective, but also a structural perspective. So to really put this in practice, I'm going to show you a little demo from one of my collaborators, Ajahn Joey, who's a master of an instrument called the 𝘕𝑛𝑖. Let's take a listen. So there's a couple of things that I want you to pay attention to. So the first one is the use of a lot of extended technique in the playing, right? You have all these trills, you have these, you'll hear some glissandos in a bit. And believe it or not, 𝘠𝘬𝘀𝘀 is actually playing the exact same melody as what you heard in the 𝘠𝘀𝘀 earlier before, which actually might come as a surprise to those of you who are listening to Thai music for the first time, because they sound like completely different songs, right? Like it seems like these songs have no relationships with each other. Well, that's because 𝘠𝘬𝘀𝘀 is taking this melody called the 𝘠𝑑𝑢𝑘𝑎n melody, and he's playing it and adding these embellishments, which are highly idiomatic to the 𝘕𝑛𝑦 instrument that he's playing. And you are considered a master of your instrument when you learn all the small little details of how to take a standard melody in Thai repertoire, but transform it into this beautiful performance that has all the embellishments and all of these extended techniques and melodic improvisations that make it sound idiomatic to that instrument. So in Thailand, we have a concept that's called thang, the thang of an instrument. And thang literally translates to the way of that instrument. So there is the way of the 𝘕𝑛𝑦, there is the way of the 𝘠𝘀𝘀, and there's the way of the 𝑟𝑛𝑎𝑡. And when ensembles play together, each instrument will have its own interpretation of the melody or the way, and they'll play these sounds together. I'll show a little bit of that in a second. So why is this is important? Okay, well, if the way of an instrument or the thang of an instrument is so important to Thai culture, then this is something that really should be preserved if we're thinking about writing new music that is based in Thai music. But how can we use machine learning to empower the thang of these instruments? So this is exactly the question that I asked myself. Right. So what's really great about machine learning is it can detect fundamental frequency of these instruments with incredible accuracy. So let me just show you what that means in practice. AI tools like Morph can re-render the precise pitch information from the 𝘕𝑛𝑦 into the sound of other instruments. So what you see there is an analysis of the exact frequencies that were played, not the notes, but literally all of the small melodic inflections that were played on the 𝘕𝑛𝑦. And using this information, I can now use the thang of the 𝘕𝑛𝑦, but to drive a whole new set of sounds. So if you now take the thang of the 𝘕𝑛𝑦, but you give it to a model that's been trained on the saxophone, you now essentially get a saxophone that sounds like it was coming from a special saxophone that was made in Thailand with Thai tuning and played with an expert Thai saxophonist who has been trained in like Thai classical melodies but can play the saxophone. Obviously that person doesn't exist, but it sounds a lot like it. If you now, so that's using it with another instrument from another culture. Within cultures, you can also take the thang of the 𝘕𝑛𝑦, but then maybe give it to another Thai instrument that usually is not playing in that style and get these kind of interesting, both within the culture and outside of the culture, interactions. And lastly, because this is now all in the world of electronic music and synthesis, you don't have to be limited by real instruments. You can now use this information to drive a whole new landscape of sound synthesis. So a lot of this technology is based on technical work that I've done in the past, including the open source library called DDSP, which I worked on with colleagues in the Magenta team at Google. And then when I was working at TikTok, we also released a VST-AU plugin that does a lot of this sonic transformation in real time in 48 kilohertz. And some of you might be familiar with this tone transfer demo. We don't have time to play with it today, but it's available online and you can still play with it. Or if you ever find yourself in the Ars Electronica Center, I recently learned that there's actually an exhibition there using this demo too. And so I took these technologies. I'm not going to look at that demo. So I took these technologies and a lot of the principles that I showed you, and wrote a song called "Enter Demons and Gods" or "Asurat Tewa Chumnum." And this was a track that ended up winning the AI Song Contest in 2022, and it's particularly. It's a particularly special moment for me to be back, but to be here in 𝘍𝘀𝘵 in person, because this event was actually co-hosted by 𝘍𝘀𝘵 in 2022 and actually took part here in La Grande Poste. And so for this song, this was sort of my breakthrough moment where I was able to generate electronic music that sounded very, very modern, but at the same time was rooted in these melodies and these tangs and these rhythms of Thai music. And I was really excited to see it not only speak to your everyday public listeners who were voting in the public vote, but that the song also really connected with the judges who come from A&R, from Sony, and music experts, AI music experts, all the way to friends back home in Southeast Asia who were really, really excited about music that sounded and tasted particularly Thai, but yet they said they could rave to it in a music festival. So that was really exciting for me, and that essentially was one of the moments that really inspired me to pursue the path that I'm on right now, making music as a full-fledged musician and sound artist. So yeah, this was the first time where I was able to really combine my worlds as a research scientist and as an artist together. And a lot of seeing the world of AI music from both a very technical side and a very artistic side, it's also raised many questions that I used to not really ask when I was a researcher, but now I think a lot, very much as an artist. So, for example, is music really just like a statistical time series? Is music just occurrences in time? Very often, as a researcher, we treat music just basically as data. There are just these statistical events over time. But as an artist, as a musician, as someone who is actively writing music and reimagining traditions from my home country, I really do believe that music is more than just a statistical time series. And in particular, I think that music has a very, very strong connection with society. So in Thailand, some of the music that you've heard is not just played as music that exists and floats around in space. Let me show you a little. All right, can anyone tell me what this is? Thai boxing. All right, this is Muay Thai, right? So this is something that's really, really special and near to dear to me, because back home I also practice Muay Thai, and what I want you to pay attention to actually is not the intense fighting, but I want you to pay attention to the background. There's actually music in the background, and I want you to try to parse out some of the instruments that you're hearing. So there's like a, I'm sorry? Yeah, so there's a percussion instrument, right? Like ting, 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 ting sound. Right, and you can hear the drums, and then you can also hear this melodic instrument. So that instrument that you just heard is in fact a 𝘕, the instrument that you just heard from before. And the reason that I showed that is because Muay Thai actually is very, very intertwined with the music. In fact, I would go as far as to say is that if you went to a Muay Thai game and there wasn't music, it's not Muay Thai anymore. The music is there to really intensify the competition. It's there to hype up the crowd. It's there to hype up the boxers, and it also defines different moments of the game, whether it's the opening, the closing, the first match, the second match. And so music plays a very, very strong part in Thai culture and Thai society. It's not just sounds that sort of exist in space. And this is a particularly important question because especially today where many other speakers, we've been talking about the flood of generative AI music and generative art that's been generated at scale in the masses from a lot of these machine learning models, one question that I always ask is that, is it music if no one is there to listen to it? And is it music if no one is there to move and to dance to it? And I think this is something that's really important for me when thinking about whether something is music or not. And so it's been a really wonderful experience to be able to collaborate with other Thai artists. So 𝘕𝘀𝘀 is a world-renowned contemporary and classical Thai dancer, and he is trained in the tradition of Khon, which is a Thai classical dance. And recently, we had the opportunity of working together where he commissioned me to write music in the style that you just heard for one of his newest performances called 𝘊𝘊𝘆, which actually just premiered in Europe a couple of weeks ago as part of the Holland Festival. And it's been really exciting for me to be able to work with other Thai artists because it's a signal to me that the music that I'm writing is actually not just music that people want to listen to, but it's music that can be intertwined and change the way that other artists who work in the dance domain, who work in other Thai arts and culture, can change the way that they approach how they're doing dance or how they're doing visual arts. So this is really exciting for me because I think this is what music is about, and hopefully what we can use machine learning tools to reimagine in the context of Thai music. Are we ending right on 12:15? Yep, okay. Then in this case, I'm gonna skip one of the demos, which is fine. The last aspect that I want to share with you is about rhythm. So most of the music that you've heard as part of my demos are also rooted in rhythms that you would find in Thai music. And there is one particular rhythm here called the 𝘭𝘀𝘀, which underpins a lot of the rhythmic structure that you hear in my music. 𝘭𝘀𝘀 is one of my favorite beats from Thai classical music. And it goes something like this. Boom, 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 boom. 𝘭𝘀𝘀 ปกติจะใช้ในการประกอบการยกทัพยักษ์ในการรำโขนเป็นจังหวะที่แสดงถึงฤทธิ์อำนาจพลังอันมหาศาลของยักษ์ And so I wanted to take the sense of power, the sense of ferocity shown through this beat that accompanies the demon armies moving in Thai dance, but reimagine it in the context of electronic bass music. And so you can hear it when the beat drops like this. And that's why. All right, so that opening sequence that you heard is actually using rhythms that you would find in Thai music. And this is particularly important because the concept of a 𝘭𝘀𝘀 is a very, very Thai musical concept. And so that begs the question, is English really enough to represent concepts from all cultures? Trust me, I have tried to prompt all the systems that are out there with 𝘭𝘀𝘀 directly, and it does not sound like a 𝘭𝘀𝘀 at all. So I think one of the limitations, too, with a lot of these systems in the text-to-music world is that they assume not just Western music and Western principles of harmony and rhythm and melody, but even the language that you interpret it, that it's interpreting, and the concepts that we can communicate with these systems are very, very limited. And so something like the 𝘭𝘀𝘀 would be impossible to incorporate. So a lot of people ask, like, oh, so does like AI write all of your music? Well, it's definitely a no, because as I've shown you from this presentation, there are cultural reasons why that I can't do that, right? I have to inject my own cultural and historical knowledge of the 𝘭𝘀𝘀 into the music making process. There's also a lot of legal reasons, which is beyond the talk today. And lastly, artistic reasons. I've been thinking a lot about what art is, and there's many, many different definitions of this, but I like to think that art is a connection to raw human emotion. A good test for this is how many of you have listened to an AI-generated song more than 5 times in a row? No one, right? But all of us have a song that we have listened to like a bajillion times, right? Like each of us, we have songs that are like that. Why is that? I think it's something to do with how that music, you're not listening to the music because it has a particular statistical distribution of the MELF frequency spectrum, that aligns with professionally mastered music. You're not listening to music because of that, but because the music speaks to you. Maybe there's something about the artist that you really like. Maybe there's a story or a lyric. And so I feel like when we're having these systems that just output music at the push of a button, and you're just using that directly, I don't really feel comfortable calling that output art. I'm comfortable calling it media. I'm comfortable calling it an audio file. But I'm also comfortable just calling it content. You're generating content, but I really think that content generation is not art generation, because art is something that is connected with society. And I really like this quote by another Thai choreographer. The music manipulates the body manipulates the mask manipulates the audience. So this is referring to the masked dance that you saw before. But I think this encapsulates the relationship that I think a lot about as a creator that's working with other artists and also working with trying to create something that moves and speaks to audiences not just at home, but also abroad here, for example, in Belgium. And this is something that really drives a lot of my creative process and also my technical process. And I've been very, very fortunate to have a fantastic team of collaborators back home in Thailand. So that opening sequence that you just saw is in collaboration with a dance troupe called 𝘕𝘀𝘀𝘀. And if you're interested in not just Thai sea bass, but our bass music, this show is also currently going on tour. I was recently playing this at Sonar Music Festivals. And so if you're interested in this kind of music, or you know of people who want to bring this kind of performance to your stages, you know who to reach out to. And you can find all of my work, both in the technical domain and the artistic domain, on my website, which is here. And I will close off the last 3 minutes with the song Enter Demons and Gods, which is the track that won the AI Song Contest in 2022. I hope you guys enjoy. Thank you very much.